You know what the crazy thing is? All of the things that, say, Israel and Alex have, you have as well. They don't have anything that's particularly special about them. The only thing that they've done that you haven't is that they've established a very, very clear vision in their mind. And they've said, yes, I want to achieve this. And they've come up with a game plan with how they consistently can do that, not just for days, months, but for years. And that last little bit when we're in the sauna, there's something that happens with Israel. Something that happens in his eyes, and he becomes this different person. Every single time he looks up, he's coming out. This guy's coming out. Whatever he's going through, it grows. It's like this physical change, and he starts talking in his native language, and the music he plays is different. He's gone from being this person that has just done this fight camp and is cutting weight into he is the last style bender, and he's got to fight for this world championship.
A gypsy.
Based on those kind of numbers, you being my dietitian, my coach, what would you suggest that I would do pre, post, and during on a day like that?
So it's funny because we've worked with quite a lot of motocross guys, probably because of the last time I came on.
Have really?
Yeah, quite a lot.
Oh,
it's sick. It's the same issue, because the biggest issue, right, is a lot of them want to watch their weight because they want to be light. So a lot of them, which is fine, you can be in that deficit. What I found works best with the motocross guys is that, you need some days where you have the lower days, but you need to periodize. You need to periodize high and low days. And when I say periodize, I'm talking about your carb intake and then your overall calorie intake. So you can have lower carb, lower calorie days, and then higher carb, higher calorie days. Because I don't think I understood it until I really got in and started working with you guys. It's tough. It's tough as shit. And if your heart rate's getting up there and you're moving, it's like a tough sport. You're constantly holding that squat position. What I would get the guys to do is, if they had rest days or whatever, lower calorie, lower carbs, and then a day or two beforehand, we'd almost carb load them and load them with high calories. So when they went into that, whether it was training or whether it was a race or whatever it was, they're going in loaded up. Yeah, they'll be a little bit heavier because they've got the extra stores and a little bit of water, but overall they're not like putting on weight because we've matched their calories throughout the week.
Yeah, and you've had the dips.
We've had the lower days, we've had the moderate and the higher, and that's what I found had a lot of success. And then after that, what we made sure we did, and it took a couple goes because the guys were saying, I feel pretty crap on the Monday or whatever it is that the next day we would program a high day so they could recover properly. And we could recover properly, get everything back in, and then we'd schedule in lower days when maybe they were sitting on just the bike and just like pedaling for a few hours in front of the TV. But that worked really well. But loading up and making sure that they had enough calories and carbohydrates and being adequately hydrated going into the race or training or whatever it was, because it's tough. And then a lot of it was intra. What do we do for you when you get off and you can eat something? What do you eat? And we used a lot of fluid you got to replace because you guys sweat crazy amounts. Getting the electrolytes, but getting liquid carbs in as well. Liquid carbs is a big part of it.
So is that like a BCAA type of thing?
Not BCAA, so like carbohydrate drinks. So like you can get like Vitago or things like that. It's just pure carbohydrates. It's like,
what about gels and stuff? Or is it better in liquid form?
No, gels are awesome. Whatever you can stomach, that's the game, because you guys are getting your heart rate up so high. What happens with your body is when your heart rate gets up there and you're moving around, you're shifting blood away from your stomach into your muscles. And blood is the life force of the body. So if there's no blood in your stomach and your intestine, it's going to be very, very difficult to digest. That's why it's very hard to eat.
There's a lot of motocross guys that cannot eat on a race day
because the heart rate's so high and they're working so hard. So you need to, if that's the case, which is normal, you can't really say to them, hey bro, just don't go as hard. It's not going to happen.
Just go last, bro.
Yeah, bro. Just accept it. It's like, you'll be fueled, but it's not going to happen. So what do? You load up and then you work with that. Okay, early on, maybe we can get in gels when your body can still get in and process that solid food. It can break it down. But then maybe later on we need a sip, because even though your heart rate goes up and then your body shifts away, your body's pretty good at like digesting and putting through the fluid. So that's when we would swap to the liquid carbs and put in those. So you're still getting the energy and the calories in to fuel that session, but you're not eating, a burger or a Subway and then feeling terrible, you know what I mean? And then having that recovery aspect the next day. That's what we found seemed to work best for most guys who were doing it pretty consistently in a season or whatever.
I was actually going to ask if after the first podcast if you looked into motocross anymore, or like I actually didn't know that you had
quite a bit.
motocross guys. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And it was like they were the biggest things, is that guys were watching their calories. It was like, I guess it was two things. They were watching their calories
because they wanted to be light.
They wanted to be lighter, which was fine. So it was figuring out what is actually your best power to weight ratio and how do we get there with your body comp. But then a lot of it was, hey, what is the best composition for your body for the training that you're doing? And it's a bit more interesting, right? Because I found that they had these higher and low days, and hey, you can really make the most of that and really fuel up for those high days and then wind back on those low days. Whereas I found guys were kind of just doing constant low, like freaking out about like, oh, my weight, or I don't want to feel too like full on the bike or whatever. They just felt really low, and what that was doing over time was just making them feel really fatigued. Really fatigued and wound out, and that's like, man, I just feel terrible after this, and my sleep's going to shit and all this, everything else. It's like, and then they weren't hydrating properly because they're like, I haven't eaten, so I've got to eat that, and they weren't prioritizing the hydration. So mixing those high and low days was a way that we could get the right amount of calories in, but make sure that the sessions that needed to be fueled would fuel. And then on top of that, you got to recover from it. Because I think I was a bit naive to how tough the sport actually was until I started working with these guys. And I was like, man, you guys are really belting yourself up in this. You've got to have that recovery aspect, and you got to take it. And there was a few other like supplements that we would integrate in, especially if in those like low calories, like getting a good multivitamin in, getting the creatine in, the beta-alanine, I think we spoke about it last time, getting a good electrolyte solution, and then having that carb powder so that you can swap when your stomach goes, oh, I don't really want to do this, or I'm too jacked up. You need to get some fueling. Being able to put that in is something that was really important. Yeah,
okay. Oh, man, that's super cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm just fully in, like, I've never been in like this much of a training mode. Like, I feel like I've always been in like a pretty just like, I'm just consistently like trying to be healthy. But yeah, with this like race coming up in November, I'm like, no, that's it. I'm fucking in. I'm
trying beast mode.
Yeah. But it's very interesting to like you live a different way, like, or you have to live a different lifestyle when you're like very attached to like, okay, I need to be ready on this day.
Yeah, 1000%. Like, again, you just zone in on that person you need to be in 8, 12, 4, 16 weeks, whatever it is. And everything that isn't related to achieving that goal just goes through the shutters, hey?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I went through this phase, and like I haven't drunk alcohol in nearly a year now because of that. I realized when I was racing, I don't have anything about not drinking. Like, I'll happily go to the pub with my old man and have a beer or whatever. I just won't binge drink or like have more than 2 or 3 because it just doesn't serve that purpose of when I rock up, because I know how much hurt I'm going to go through. And when I go through that hurt, I need to know that my body has everything in there to fuel this thing up here.
Yeah, and then you didn't sabotage.
And then I didn't sabotage because one of these guys is going to tell me about it if I did, and it's going to really get me. So I need to know. It's like you just hyper fixate on all of those things, and it's like the athlete mentality. Yeah. It's like it's awesome and it's cool to go through, right? And the other thing that's crazy about it is that you go from living this really healthy lifestyle to living like the athlete lifestyle, and I'm not entirely convinced that the athlete lifestyle is the healthy one, because you're so hyper fixated, you're just like so anal about what you're eating, but then you're destroying your body. Even if you're doing everything right, like training's hard, bro. Like, and training's meant to break down the body. You're meant to break it down and build it back up. It's a stress.
And mentally it's hard.
It's draining. Spiritually it's draining. It's hard on your relationships because you got to be so selfish and just fixated on all of these things. I'm not convinced that living this athlete lifestyle is the best for your overall general health, but I think in the long run, it's probably good that you go through it and experience it.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.